Hi, my name is Ayana, and I decided to do my Intro to Psychology project on performance enhancing drugs. This presentation will go over the psychological motives, the societal implications, and the ethical challenges surrounding the use of these drugs. The main purpose for these drugs is to improve your physical or mental capabilities. So, the way people gain access to these drugs are sometimes they're in an illegal way, or other times it's legal and they're being prescribed these medications from a medical professional. But here I have some characteristics of what these drugs can do to you. They can make you faster, stronger, more focused, motivated, and even energized and alert. All right, so before we jump into how these drugs affect our body, we really need to understand how does it happen. You just don't take the drug and magically you have these superpower characteristics that you never had before. So it all starts with the endocrine system. So as you can see by the chart, it has a whole bunch of organs and glands, and what they do is that they produce, store, and release hormones, which are chemical messengers that regulate various bodily functions. And the way the performance enhancing drugs work is that they alter or mimic our natural hormones that we produce from our body. So when you take these drugs, it's going through your system and it's changing you. There are many different types of performance enhancing drugs. Each of them have their own characteristics and their purpose, but here I have a list. So we have anabolic steroids, human growth hormones, erythropoietins, androstenedione, and stimulants. So example of a stimulant is cocaine, Adderall, high caffeine dosages, and I don't have them aligned to their own characteristics because a lot of them overlap, but ultimately there's a pattern. So some of the physical effects that are good is you're getting that strength, you're getting stronger, you're recovering faster, there's a boost of endurance, and you're also more alert and focused. This is why most athletes take these drugs. It helps with their performance, and that's what they need to perform. They need all those characteristics to be good at their sport. So then, so then we also have some negative characteristics like hair loss and severe acne. You know, there's people who don't take these drugs who suffer from acne and hair loss. As we can see, there's also shrinking testes, infertility, heart and blood flow problems, and also addiction. So these negative effects are more than just tweaks to your physical appearance, but also affect your health. All right, so these drugs not only affect you physically, but also mentally. So some of these traits that provided, some of them come directly from taking the drugs, and others are a little bit more complex than that I will discuss in further slides. So some good characteristics. Imagine an athlete. They took these drugs, they're excelling at their performance, they're feeling proud of themselves, they're achieving milestones that they achieving milestones, and it just helps with their confidence. They're feeling motivated and they just want to continue doing better at what they do, and they're achieving that with drugs. On the other side, there is addiction, and that comes directly from taking the drugs. There's also depression and body dysmorphia, which I will discuss in further slides, which has to do with something a little bit more different, not directly coming from the drugs, but also void rage. Like we've heard that before. That's coming directly from the drugs, and aggressiveness is an effect of taking performance enhancing drugs. To understand the psychological motives behind doping, let's look into operant conditioning, which is a part of behavior psychology. So, first, behavior psychology is how people learn and change behaviors through interactions with their environment, focusing on actions and the effects of rewards, punishment, and stimuli. Operant conditioning is these behaviors are shaped and maintained by their consequences, with reinforcements increasing the behavior and punishments decreasing it. So let's go back to the example of an athlete. So some positive stimuli are doing great financially, great reputation, performance, and a negative stimuli that also reinforces doping is that these drugs are relieving their stress and performance anxiety. So they're doing great all around. While the risk is being caught using these drugs. With elite committees like the Olympics, it's actually hard to trace back if an athlete has been doping or not. And that's because the performance enhancing drugs are so diverse, and even with all the urine and blood tests, it's hard for them to distinguish, has this athlete been doping or not. Social cultural psychology is how social interactions and cultural norms influence behavior, thoughts, and emotions. So, as we know in the sports community, doping is a controversial topic, and most athletes do take drugs. So, some factors that reinforce their doping is peer influence, teammates who take them, or other sports, or probably their coaches make them feel like as if they need to dope because they're not doing as well as on their performance. And other factors that reinforces their doping is that their job is to compete, to do better than others, to succeed. And sometimes doping feels as if that's the only way that they could accomplish that. And that's how they achieve the fame and success and money that they have from beating people while competing. So below I have some articles linked below, and I found it interesting that for non-professional athletes or just people who dope, preferably young men, got these drugs online illegally, and it wasn't for their performance. It was because they wanted to be desired. They wanted to look better, feel attractive, and feel masculine enough. It had nothing to do with performance. And some factors that reinforce those doping could be social media influencers, fitness influencers, and they see those unrealistic standards online, and they put it into their head that that's what they need to be desirable or be masculine enough. At the end of the day, the long-term risks are not worth the short-term benefits of taking these drugs. They should be banned in sports, and the influence they have is just negative all around. There are other ways to gain confidence or excel at your performance, and you could do those in a natural state, but relying on drugs brings nothing but risk, the addiction, depression, body dysmorphia, kidney failure, liver failure. There's just too much when you could accomplish the reward in a different way.